guys, so I'm here today to do a book review of a book that I just finished and I feel like I died reading it, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. And oh my god, this book legit, actually, I think I died. Trying to read this, I think I died, and it took me like 2 weeks to get through this because this is one heck of a book and the writing is small, so it's very difficult to get through her books, I feel, just because they're so big. But the plot and the writing, oh my god, everything in this book was just amazing and I loved it so much, and I'm just dying because I need the next one like in my hands right now, but I can't get it because it's not going to be published until like next May, so that's a year away. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. I need it now, but it's coming out in a year. But I can't. I'm dying and I can't because this book needs to... Oh my god, this was just so amazing. It was just so good. So, because this book is the second book in a trilogy, there will be spoilers in this video because it's a bit hard to talk about a second book without spoiling the first book. And I do want to talk about the events that happen in this book because I'm just... Oh my god, I just can't, because this book was just amazing and just one of the best things I've read for a while now. But seriously, if you haven't read the book, you shouldn't watch this video, but if you have, let's get into this. So, A Court of Thorns and Roses was a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and the second one, A Court of Mist and Fury, is a retelling of Hades and Persephone, and that's pretty much the bare necessities of what this book is about that you will need, like, you want to know if you're going to read it, because I love retelling, so this series really stood out to me to want to read it. What I like about this book series is it's about like fae and not necessarily fairies, but it's like there's really cool magical powers and there's a lot of like wars happening between all these, there's different realms and courts, and it's really interesting because like there's so much like political stuff in this book of like which court's better, which like person's bad, which is evil, and there's like 3 different battles going on, like with the land of Hybern wanting to take over Prythian, I'm pretty sure, and then the humans just being in the mix like at the end there, like, and the humans want, like, everyone wanting to take over the human world, and then there's like so much battle in this book, and I really enjoyed that because I think it's a really good like way for, like, this world's really interesting in the way that it's created, and I really enjoy that. And the world building was definitely a lot better in this book because you got to see a lot more of the world and stuff like that, which I thought was great. And seriously though, it's just such a good book. So at the beginning of this book, Feyre was going through a really bad case of post-traumatic stress syndrome. She was having nightmares. She'd wake up and vomit because she just couldn't handle what she was having nightmares about, and she had such internal turmoil for what she had to do to save Tamlin with Amarantha. Oh god. I love her books, but sometimes people's names are hard to pronounce. But because Feyre killed those 2 innocent fays to save Tamlin, she just doesn't feel like she's good anymore. Like, she just feels so guilty for having to kill those people to save Tamlin. And at the time, she felt like she had to do it, like she couldn't live without him. But now she just feels so guilty and she doesn't feel like she's worthy of him. And I also find it really sad that Tamlin doesn't actually help her. Like, he doesn't try and comfort her. He just leaves her to her sadness, and because he has his own demons he's fighting, because he'll have nightmares and wake up and transform into his beast form and try and protect her. And it's really hard for both of them because they're not comforting each other. They're not like confiding in each other. It's really hard. And because she's feeling so alone, Feyre is starting to feel really caged in the Spring Court, which I would understand because she's becoming Tamlin's queen, because he proposed to her a couple of months ago and she said yes, and now she's going to become the queen, and now she's like this figure face of the world. Like, she came back to life because all 7 High Lords helped her, and now she's like this person that people don't really know what to do with her, because like she can be scary because she has all, like, saw 7 powers of the High Lords in her. And Feyre definitely started feeling caged, and she hated that she was never getting any information and she was never being able to help do anything. So I really liked the fact that it had been 3 months since the Under the Mountain stuff that went on, and Rice hadn't cashed in on his bargain just yet, which was to have Feyre come live with him for a week every month. When Feyre was walking down the aisle, she just couldn't do it. She started hyperventilating, she started freaking out because she's just like, I can't do it, I'm gonna say no. So having Rhys actually come into the wedding and come and take her out of there before she humiliated herself and humiliated Tamlin was great. And it was really nice because the bond they have for that deal, he feels her pain, so he's been feeling her emotions this whole 3 months. wants, but he doesn't know what to do. But like, I really thought it was great that he came in there and got her out of there, and for that first week she really got to think over what she actually wanted, and she went back to Tamlin and it got worse. And it's just like really hard for her because she's having so much trouble trying to figure out what she wants to do, and she's so stressed and she's feeling depression over what happened, and it's so much going on in her mind that it's really killing her. And I could feel her sadness, and it was killing me to have to read this and feel how bad this was, but it was just the writing and how it was done was amazing. After her week with Rhys though, when she came back, I thought it was really sad that Favory started really questioning her love for Tamlin, like the idea that, you know, the first person to ever show her love she fell in love with, but he might not be the right person for her. And because I'm the biggest fan of Tamlin, but this book has really changed my view on him, but I loved him so much in the first book, and he was pretty tame compared to this one because he wasn't trying to kill people, he wasn't trying to lock her up, he wasn't trying to do really bad things. And in the first book I really didn't like Rhys because he just seemed like this horrible person, and he was trying to and he was, you know, Amarantha's whore, and he was her spy and doing all of her dirty work and was always trying to be bad, and like how he made Tamlin bow down to him, and that was just, like, my opinion of him was so just, I did not like him. And then in this one he just evolved into greatness. And as I was reading this, I was really starting to notice the differences between the two of them. Like, Tamlin just wanted Favory to stay in the palace, locked up and away from the world and have guards around her, but Rhys let her walk around, do whatever she wanted. Like, unless she called out for help, he didn't mind what she did. She just was allowed to go where she wanted, do what she wanted, and I thought that was really, really good for him to do that for her. Tamlin also expected too much from Favory. Like, he wanted her to be queen and do all this stuff, but I mean, she couldn't even read or write, so she has so much trouble trying to fit in with this elite society. But Rhys, he was helping her learn how to read, he was helping her do so many things that were really, really good. I think it was another thing too that Tamlin wouldn't let her like learn to protect herself. Like, she really needed to have that protection in herself to be able to figure out, like, if someone tried to attack her she'd be able to survive, but Tamlin would not let her because he's thinking if they figure out that you might have powers and be able to do stuff, people might want to kill her. But Rhys, he was in there with training her. It's just like all these differences of why Rhys was better than Tamlin in this book. It's just like and seriously, my hope died with Tamlin the minute he locked her up in the palace and actually caged her in, had a force field, and then Favory she couldn't do it. She just let herself go and she was just devoured by darkness, and Rhys had to come and get her out of there and then take her away, and then she just didn't go back because she couldn't do it. I understand that. I really love Tamlin and Favory, but it's just like, it just wasn't going to work out, and it really upset me because it was like, that was so bad, but I understand why she wanted to leave. I wouldn't want to be caged into, like, their relationship was just so toxic, and I wouldn't want to be caged in that if I was her. It would have been horrible. Would have been horrible, 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 horrible to deal with. And through that time, Rhys was really supportive of her, which I really enjoyed. I really liked that because Rhys is just amazing and I love him. Oh my god, my crown is falling off. See, I'm trying to add a little like costume to my book review, like, because it's like their face, like the flowers. A thing that did annoy me with this book though is some of the info dumping was a bit much, like, and I was so confused and I had to keep reading it over because it just didn't make sense to me. Like when Favory first went to Valeris, which is like this awesome court that Rhys has that's just full of light and happiness, and he's meant to be the high lord of the court of nightmares and death, but he actually has this secret like cloud of his land that he has peace and love and people surviving there. And when Favory found it, she just couldn't believe it. Like, she thought he was this horrible person. But with the info dumping in that area, when like we were introduced to all the characters like Moore and Cassian and Azil and Amren, and how like their lives intertwined and what was happening, I was just so confused. Like the dumping of that information and how this world was existing and how Rhys wasn't actually such a bad guy and how he actually had such a sad love story. And it was so sad that, you know, he became Amarantha's whore just so his people could survive. He could keep this pocket of his land safe, and he went 50 years of torture and pain to keep all these people safe, and I just think that's such a sacrifice. And thinking Tamlin didn't sacrifice anything for Favory. Like the one night he had a chance to maybe get her out of there, he just wanted to have sex with her, and it was just like, I loved that when I was reading Court of Thorns and Roses, but now reading this, looking back on it, he didn't try. He might have begged, but he never tried. Rhys was the one that actually tried, and he wasn't even in love with her at that stage. So it's just like, the one thing though, I really didn't like Favory's letter to Tamlin. Like, it was just 3 sentences being like, I can't do it, I don't want to come back, don't expect me to come back, and then she was just like what are you expecting him to just be like, oh yeah girl, it's fine, I don't love you anymore, like you're full, just go. Like of course he's going to try and hunt you, and he's going to want to kill Reese, and he's going to want you back, and he's going to be so possessive. Like that was just like, come on, you could have at least told him in person somehow, because I actually didn't like that she never saw him. Like Tamlin was only in about 30% of this book, like it was in hardly any, like we hardly saw him. We only saw him like for a bit at the beginning and then like a little bit at the end, but I needed to see more of him because I would have really loved to have seen his apology after locking her up in the house, but we never got that. But seriously, I seriously thought that letter was like so wrong. Like she should have handled that a lot better, because now it understands why he was such a prick at the end. So yeah. And one thing I really enjoyed about this book is I don't think it was a love triangle between Feyre, Tamlin and Reese. I do not. Some people are going to say it was, but I don't think it was, because with Feyre and Tamlin, she and Tamlin were an item. They were together. She wasn't like, I want to be with Reese, and like back and forth. Like when she was with Tamlin, then she dumped him, and then she didn't end up with Reese for like another 300 pages, and then that happened. But she wasn't constantly going from one to the other. Like she might have been having thoughts about them, but she wasn't instantly like, you know, she was with Tamlin, then she was with Reese, and then she was with Tamlin, then she was with like, it wasn't like that, which I thought was really, really good. I just don't think it was. But I gotta say, I really loved the developing feelings between Feyre and Reese. Like it was a really slow building relationship, because Feyre was still so broken from what the horrors that she lived through to save Tamlin, and she just couldn't even think about romantic relationships. And even though some people would say 2 months is not enough time, I feel like for them it was, because she just had to get rid of that hate that she felt and resentment for herself, and then she was able to start feeling things, and then she started really loving Reese without even having started dating him, which I thought was great. So it was like development, pros, love it. And just saying, that scene at the Court of Nightmares was just spot on. I just was so freaking out. Like the steaminess of that scene between Reese and Feyre was killing me, and what made it even better is they were faking it, and it was just like, oh my god, because I really liked that, how like Feyre wanted to really see firsthand the act that Reese would put on for his people to try and keep them afraid of him and not, like, you know, loving him, which I thought was really sad. But they were trying to steal something from his court, so they had to put on a show. So she came in pretending to be his whore and like was touching her in places, and she started reacting to it really badly, and she was freaking out because she's like, he's gonna know, and then he started reacting, and it was just like, oh my god. And they were just like, and then they blamed it on just their bodies, and I'm like, I know you love each other, it's happening. I know it's probably bad, because I did hate Reese before, but now I love him, and I love him now that I understand him a lot more, because what he went through was so sad, but now I just love him, and it's just, he's my new bae. I love him. And one thing that I thought was great is Feyre and Reese are actually mates, which is great, because now it makes sense that a relationship with Tamlin never ever would have worked, because they're not mated, they're not destined to be together. But what I really liked, and was kind of sad though, is Reese never told her. He's known for like 3 years, because he had dreams about her, and then when he saw her, he's like figuring it out, and then when she became Fae, he was just like, oh my god. And it was really interesting, because now it makes sense why in the last book he was like, the last time he saw her, he was all stumbling and freaking out and running out, because it's like he knew it was clicking. And I was just like, and it was really sad though when Feyre was so annoyed, and she like read and hid in like some shack, and then he came and explained everything. Seriously, that explanation was just on point, like how he explained the past 50 years about how he developed things, and how things, and like so much of the plot started to make sense, like why he was doing things and why it was happening, and I loved it. And then there's this thing with mates where if you make food for your mate, then that means you accept them, and it was really nice, because like as he was talking, Feyre was making food, and it was like at the end she would decide if she would actually give him the food, and it was just like and then after that, man, it got steamy. It was like bam, and then it kept happening like all night long, and then the next day, and then the next day, and the description of her like sex scenes are just like, oh seriously, they're so intense, and I love them because I love the characters, and it was just so great, and I was just like, ugh. Really great. And I was good though, like for most, like pretty much only about like 50 pages of the whole book were actually really steamy. So it was like most of it was like development of characters, and then it was like this, but seriously, oh my god. Oh my god though, I think legit the bit that killed me was the end of the book, because seriously when Feyre, like when the King of Highburn had actually like, you know, trapped them and took all their powers, and it was so annoying, and it was just like, oh my god, and then Tamlin was working for him and I was just like freaking the heck out, because I was like, no you prick. And then the guy got her sisters Nista and Elaine, and it was freaking me out because then he turned them into fays, and then Lucian and Elaine are like now mates, and I was like, what is going on? And seriously though, but when Feyre like pretended like Shifrese had put like a thing on her mind so that she like forced her to pretend to love him, it killed me. It seriously did, and I was thinking, oh my god, no, he won't be able to know for the bond, and it was killing me, and I was just like, oh my god, he's not going to know, and then he's going to think she doesn't love him. And then when I thought the mate bond, that the king actually broke the mate bond up, was just like, oh my god. I couldn't handle it. I was just like, oh my god, no, there's only like 20 pages left and I'm going to have to wait a whole year and they're going to be dead. I'm just glad that Rhys knew it was an act though, and the mating bond wasn't ruined. It was just the bargain they made for the 1 month, the 1 day, 1 week a month that was broken. And like Feyre still has this cool ass tattoo on her other hand that's like, ooh, I like that. But seriously, it was just like, oh my god. And now what I really like too is they got married the night before and we didn't get to read the scene. I would have really liked to have known about the marriage and been able to read it, and now she's like the High Lady of the Night Court, and it's like, yes, yes, yes. And now she's going to be Tamlin's spy, and she's gone back with him, but I'm so annoyed because now she's going to have to like try and pretend like she loves him, but she doesn't really. Like, I mean, she's gonna have to try and evade having like sex with him and doing a lot of different stuff with him, and it's really like, oh my god, I'm just dying. I need this book to just end happily, please. I feel like everyone's probably gonna die, but seriously, it's just such a good book, man. And I really like the introduction of like all the new characters and all of like Rhys's court, and they're all great, and they're so protective of Feyre as well now that she's the High Lady, but they loved her before as well when like she was Rhys's mate, and it's just so good, and I love the book, and it's like, yes, give me more, but there won't be more, and I'm dying. I'm actually dying. But anyway guys, I hope you liked my really long review of this amazing book, because it was just bae and I loved it. So seriously, I just 5 out of 5 stars, a million out of million stars. Like, it's infinite the amount of love I have for this book, and it was so great. And I'm just dying. And I'm sorry that this book review has probably been really, really long, but I had to talk about my feels. I even wrote down in this notebook all of my feels, and then I had to talk about them because I was dying, and I was just like, I need to remember things, and I need to... Seriously though, such a good book. I loved it. But anyway guys, thanks so much for my video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!